I graduated high school in 1969. Met some people, and he was a videographer. Another one was a still photographer, and I was hanging with them, and I said, wow, this seems a pretty cool way to, to get that moment. So I got myself a cheap little camera and started shooting, and one thing led to another, and, it was fun. It was 1970. My family moved to Florida, so I was sort of on my own. And I had some friends that were getting together to get a house, and it sort of grew. We found a farmhouse, and it was 50 Lake Street in Upper Saddle River. We all moved in together. There was 12 of us, and it was very interesting because from the photography end, I was able to, cover everything that happened. We were busted for marijuana back in those days, and we made the papers. And everything just started spinning from there. So we had, people coming over, we had parties. I got involved in taking a lot of pictures of different concerts. Jefferson Airplane, Alice Cooper was very cool. Bowie came out with this robe and boxing gloves on. We had this typical Volkswagen, that van, we used to all just squeeze into and go to all these different concerts. And today, 50-something years later, everybody's thrilled to be able to, go back in time. This was probably 71. I started to go to school at the Germain School of Photography. Along Times Square, there was 9,000 camera stores. I was able to afford a really cool camera, which I have still. You had to have Nikon. It was the thing to do. And this particular one is the black body. It's the F. They don't make cameras like this anymore. It has brass and it's heavy. And this one, I had to get the black one because it was a few dollars more, but that was cooler. And you had to have the best if you could. And I got some mileage out of this camera. About 1974, I went to work for a photographer in Paramus, Bill Mitchell. He had complete confidence in me. He was sending me around to New York, Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, to Brooklyn. I never said no. I'd go out at night and, whatever he had to do. It was a really nice relationship because he was able to get weekends off because he let me work. His whole family loved me because he was able to get time off. From the heart that this kid he wants it. I think one of my first assignments was to photograph Johnny Cash. So 1979, I started my business, which was Sal Benedetto Photography. At that point, I was doing weddings, I was doing bar mitzvahs, you name it, I did it. And, I went door to door, and I managed to get into Valley Hospital, and they had a couple assignments for me, and I was like, wow, this is pretty good. Valley called me for an assignment. The Giants quarterback, Phil Simms, his wife just delivered a baby at the hospital, and they wanted me to come over and take some pictures. It was kind of neat to see the picture in the paper the next day too. It's always nice to see your photos being published. Audrey came in 1980 to Valley Hospital. We hit it off pretty well. She was hands-on everything, even photography. We do projects together. She had an influence, and we talked, and it was good. We became friends. She was always so good to me. It was a great relationship.
Well, I wanted to pay special tribute to a really special member of the Valley family, and it's someone that I guarantee you that every person in this room knows. In fact, chances are you had the occasion to take one simple direction from this very appreciated member of the Valley extended family, and that's the direction to smile.
When you shot a job, you didn't know if your lens was broken, if there was dust on something. So when you developed that film, you were always, you had a little knot in your stomach. We were basically shooting black and white. The job would be in the afternoon. They wanted the prints. I'd go back to the darkroom, process the film, dry the film, make a contact sheet to see, which image I wanted. And then I'd run off 30 of them. and then I'd have to dry them and then deliver them. Sometimes if it was early in the day, they want it that afternoon, but you really had to hustle. So it was a busy time. But now you look down, you go, oh, that shot's okay, or let me shoot it again. Digital it's a different world. Springsteen is, from day one when I first started listening to his music was unbelievable. I really enjoyed his music and I wanted to go to as many concerts as I could. I saw Bruce for the first time for $12. You can't even get a beer there for $12 anymore. And at that point, you really weren't allowed to bring your cameras in, so I snuck them in. If it was winter, you had a coat on, but if it was summer, I had a pretty long lens at the time and strap it to a leg, or if one of the girls was coming, we would try to put it in their pocketbook, but they did check pocketbooks. But we got it in, never got caught. And I'm glad I did, because I have some unbelievable memories, and he's just such a great showman. And I guess because, we're from New Jersey and he's a Jersey guy, it's just very emotional to photograph him, and I really enjoy photographing him. And I even enjoy, people they'll come over and go, oh, I really like that, and I'll just give them a picture. I just, take it. I didn't take them to sell them or anything. I took them to give to people to share with them. In 1986, we just finished refurbishing the Statue of Liberty. I was working with my friend Rick. I was doing a lot of yacht parties in New York. He hired Bob Hope for 3 nights, and they had the fireworks, Lee Iacocca, and Ronald Reagan. That was a very cool experience. Yeah, I've gotten to be, behind the scenes at a lot of really cool things. There's a company called CDI. The owner of the company, Eric Baker, loved sports. Every year in September, he would have a golf outing. The first year that I did it with him, he had Rudy Giuliani come, and that's when Rudy was a hero. I had to photograph 250 people shaking hands with Rudy. It was very much a lot of pressure, because you had like 20 minutes to do it. George W. Bush came, and Clinton came. I remember after I was finished with Derek Jeter, when he came, he goes, boy, you did that pretty quick. Because I said, well, hey, thanks. The 2 years that I worked with the Yankees, I was basically working for Steve Crandall, which was the main photographer. I didn't work the whole season. I just worked the playoffs and the series, which was the icing on the cake. Steve, being the photographer of the Yankees, he knew them for years. Every season, at the end of the season, he would go in with the team picture, which I helped. I was one of the people helping Steve. Steve took the picture. We had to take it with a 4x5 camera for basic quality and have everybody sitting. So we brought the pictures in. Everybody signed both years. I have 2 photos on the wall there of the team. The perfect game, David Cohn's pitching. Yogi and Don Larson came. After 5 innings, Steve, he goes, let's get out of here. I go, Steve, are you kidding? I said, this is, he'll never do it. I talked him into staying. All of us were positioned in a different area. I was at third base, and the ball went up, and, Cohn pointed up, and, it was just like click, 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 and it was magic. It was really cool. And the place went crazy. That was just as exciting as the World Series.
Batting 6 in the bullpen, number 20, the catcher, Jorge Posada.
We had these humongous lenses on. This was like a 400 millimeter. I was in the with all the other photographers in the pit, and you know that the game's going to end shortly, so you're sort of like getting ready to focus what's going on, what's going to happen, and then boom, it happens, and then the whole team goes crazy, and I was just zoomed in on the pitcher, and Jorge running over to Mariano and hugging each other, and it just caught the shot. You felt like you got, you were there, you were ready. You're shooting, you don't know, you can't look back. You don't know until the film's processed. We flew to Atlanta, we took buses to Shea Stadium. We got to be in 2 parades. There was a photographer on every float. I happened to get the good float, I thought. The people from The Sopranos were there. It's just anybody that wanted to come along. Yogi and his wife, they had their own car. It was just to go like, wow, it was surreal. I've been very fortunate to make a living and to enjoy photography. And I still feel the same way today, to just capture the moment. And it thrills me so much that Nick is doing the same thing. You know, he took it a level more with videography, and he's a great photographer, so I'm happy. And James is picking up the camera. So it's passing along, which is a good thing.